What's going on, everybody? We're going to do another Chevy Nova Zoom show today. And today we're going to have James Cline on with his beautiful 73 green Chevy Nova. And I particularly love this car just from the stance, wheels, and the color. But we'll get all into that later. First, I want James, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, and then kind of give us a little history on the car.
Okay, perfect. First off, thanks guys for allowing me to do this interview with you, or at least asking me anyway. Basically based in North Carolina. I'll try to lose some of my Southern accent for everyone. And, I think I bought this car. I think it was like 03 when I bought this car. It's a pretty cute story, just as far as the car goes. This car just kind of appeared one day in a person's yard that lived on the same road that I do. And I probably drove by this car for 4 months. And I used to laugh at it because it was completely covered in red oxide primer. And when I say that, they did not know what a roll of tape was or a newspaper or anything. They just took the red oxide and painted this car from top to bottom. Everything was red oxide, all the chrome on it, half the windows. I just laughed at it.
Wow.
And I was actually with another neighbor. He was a car guy. He worked at a paint and body shop. And we used to talk about that car when we drove by. I was like, I'm not even interested in that car because it's probably automatic on the column. But what are the chances that this car is 4-speed? Because that would have been the only way I'd been interested in the car, because it was just not a well cared for car. And 3 weeks later, he's like, can you bring your trailer over here? I'm buying this car. So I'm like, yeah. So I hooked up the truck and trailer and went over there. And sure enough, this car's factory 4-speed car, bench seat 4-speed car. And I'm like, okay, dang it. So he buys the car, gets it back to his house. We get it running. First thing, right out of the gate, the thrust bearing's out of the engine. I mean, you press in the clutch pedal and you can watch a harmonic bouncer shoot forward in the engine.
Oh, wow.
So we pull the engine out of it. It's got a 350 in it, and we take it apart. Cylinders look good. We hone it, ring rods and mains, and we buy a crank kit for it. We put a crank kit in it, put it back together. It's fine. So he drives around in it for 3 or 4 days, shows up at the house. He's like, it's making a weird noise. At the time of his purchase, I'm not sure what was in the car from the factory, but it had a Saginaw 4-speed in it. And one of the bearings in the Saginaw 4-speed decided to give up. So at that point, he was just done with it. So we brokered a deal on the car, and that's how I ended up with the car.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it came with the 4-speed, 350, all that good stuff and everything when you got it.
That is correct.
What now? Did you keep that setup, or did you build it up and then kind of change the power plant? Or tell me what you got going on under the hood.
It did stay that way for a little bit. I did pull the Saginaw out of it, and I was able to find enough pieces to fix the Saginaw transmission and put it back in, and just rode around in it for a little bit, had some fun with it, jerked it around a little bit. But because everything on the car was like painted red oxide, I mean, it was just terrible. So then we decided we were going to start cleaning the car up. We started cleaning the car up, and we realized it was kind of a pretty good car. So things kind of changed gears. And after that, basically the car just got blown apart. It was a unanimous decision between my wife and I that this car is probably worth saving, because the reality of it was a manual disc brake, no AC, manual steering, bench seat 4-speed car. So we were like, this car's kind of cool. And I love poverty level cars. So we decided we were going to try to save it. And from there, it just kind of got put in a box, and we just started polishing it and washing it and putting it back together again, getting it painted. And then from that point, it went through several different stages of improvement beyond then. You know, the first setup we did was a D-stroke 400 with a M21 Muncie in it and a set of 410 gears. The car was really, really fun like that, but it was a high maintenance car. And that started getting a little bit like, okay, you have to adjust the valves every so often. You pull the valve covers off of it. Oh, there's a crack in that rocker arm, on and on and on. So I just wanted to get away from the maintenance. So we got another 400, and we put basically a super unleaded motor together, and we had a stroke of bad luck with that thing. It ended up losing oil pressure way too soon. This thing had like 500 or 600 miles on it, and it just started losing oil pressure. you're in the car business. You're going to take some lumps. You know how it is, and especially when you've got a hobby car. And the current situation it is now is it has a 383 in it, much like your car.
Okay.
And I took the M21 out and put an M24 speed in it. And I changed the axle ratio down to, well, it's got a Ford rear end in it. So I changed the axle ratio to 355. Most GM axle ratios are 342. That's as close as they get. And it's very, very fun. The car is extremely drivable, and once I got a decent engine and transmission and rear axle combination sorted out, then I started working on the details of the car, make it ride better, make it drive better, just basically trying to improve the car without taking away from the appearance of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much like when you put coilovers in your car, man, it was probably just the greatest thing that had happened in a long time.
Yeah.
It really helps the way they drive.
Yeah. The adjustment of it, the ability to be able to, dampening, all that good stuff. You can play with it if if you're into the drag race scene, you can do all that for launching and stuff. But the overall, I guess you could say, abilities you have with a coilover versus a spring and shock setup is night and day. And I mean, the ride was a lot better too. It kind of stiffened up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but I kind of like that because it kind of gave it that sport car feel, rather than just the kind of mushiness that I had. Gas shocks with CPP springs in it before that, but when I went to the coilovers, it was a big difference. Yeah. So what suspension do you have in yours? Do you have like drop spindles? Because everybody talks about the stance of your car. So give us kind of what's going on under the car as far as suspension goes. Like, what do you have up front? Do you have anything special going on out back, or basically what is it?
Well, I have 2-inch drop spindles. I do have the stock brakes on the front of it. I'm running a coil spring. It's a Moog part number is 5662.
Okay.
That is your Monte Carlo SS, your Buick Grand National, your Hurst Olds.
Yeah.
But what really makes that spring great is that GM thought so much of that spring that they put it in like S10s and Blazers, and you can buy a set of those springs on the eBay for $60, and
Yeah.
spring rates are pretty much double. If anybody was ever thinking about maybe not necessarily going to the coilover setup for a monetary reason, I would say that 5662 spring is the ideal spring to go in that car.
5662. Okay.
Yeah, that's a Moog number. There's a Delco number, flimsy on the Delco number. Usually you can find the cross reference for that spring, and you can buy the Delco springs a little cheaper than you can buy the Moog springs.
Yeah, it sounds like it across all types of platforms you mentioned. They're pretty easily accessible, especially if you go to a parts store or something like you say. You can get online and find them pretty cheap.
Sure.
You definitely won't find a set of coilovers for that amount. I mean, the spring,
but
sure, as far as spring rates for big block, small block, they vary. Yeah, that's a good substitute. I mean, we had a member. Who was it? I think it was actually David Williams mentioned that he was going to be looking maybe towards doing some drop spindles or maybe do a spring or something like that to bring the front end down a little bit, because he just went with the LS conversion. So it's not as big of a motor with a bunch of components on it, so it won't bring a lot of weight into factor up front. That's pretty interesting. So are you running pads out? I'm sorry, brake drums out back as well, or like what do you got out back?
No, it's I've got an 8.8 out of a Fox chassis Mustang in the back, and I'm running 3-inch drop leaf springs. I bought them from a company called Detroit Speed and Engineering.
Oh yeah.
Hotchkiss is another vendor. They're kind of pricey. I mean, I think those springs are like right at $500.
Yeah.
For a pair. It's pretty bright. I would say that if someone wanted to lower their car without putting lowering blocks on it, especially if you're making a lot of power, you really don't want to put lowering blocks on your car because they're generally made out of aluminum and they crack. If there's a spring company or a heavy truck company in your town that you're local to, usually they can re-arch and or de-arch springs. If your leaf springs are good, if they're not cracked, if you take the spring pack apart and it looks good, you can basically go to the spring guy and he will knock 2 inches out of the leaf springs. He will de-arch them for The average price is somewhere between $80 and $100. So you can come out way ahead of the game, much better than me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's,
I wasn't smart enough when I bought the springs to figure that out, but now I know better.
well, you know, they always say hindsight is 2020. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I am running CCP shocks, just like you were, like
Yeah.
with your stuff that you originally bought. I really like the shock absorbers. They work well. I bought an AFCO rear sway bar that's 7/8 of an inch in diameter.
nice.
Really good kit. Fits nice. Not a whole lot of struggle with that. The front, I have a 1.25 inch sway bar on the front. And I did the Jeep steering box conversion. I don't know if a whole lot of people are familiar with that, but
I haven't heard
90,
that. It's a rundown on that. Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really cool. It's a really cool thing. I think it's 92 to 98 Jeep Grand Cherokee. They use Saginaw steering boxes, and obviously we know our General Motors products. They're the vendors. They make Saginaw stuff. And the steering ratios on those steering box and the road feel is phenomenal. One would say that steering box is extremely close, if not the same steering box as Monte Carlo SS, Buick Grand National, things like G-body stuff.
Yeah.
That too, along with the spring swap, is day and night different. It's absolutely highly recommended. I bought mine at the salvage yard. That's okay. You can buy new boxes that are, just depends on how much you want to spend, how much work you want to put into it. So I found a nice box. It didn't look like it was leaking. It's still not leaking. I cleaned it up. I painted it. I put it on. Goes right on the car. The rag joint will have to be changed, or the steering coupler, depending on where you're from, what you call it. For my car, I used a 1983 C10 Chevrolet truck steering coupler. It bolts right up to the Nova steering column, and it fits the Jeep steering box.
Wow.
Again, one of the better things I'd ever done to that car. There's a little bit more to it than that. Obviously, on our older cars, the power steering lines are flare fitting, but on the later cars, they went to an O-ring seal. They do sell the adapters. They're cheap. It's like $19 for a set of adapters. So you can basically you screw that into the steering box, and you can screw your flare fitting line right into the steering box. It's just a brass fitting. That's all it is. Cheap to come by, easy fix, easy peasy.
Nice.
Nice stuff. The car really, really rides good. Once I got it to where it was a reliable car per se, because I had to get away from all that super hot rod stuff, high maintenance deal. I started focusing on how to make the car ride better, how to make it turn better, how to make it stop better. And that's been fun for me here lately. Learning.
Good. Yeah.
Making it better.
What is your, if you say like knock to knock, what would be your, like, how many turns for rotations?
It's about 2 3/4 of a turn lot to lot.
Wow, that's really good.
Which is great. It's a really great enhancement. I mean,
Yeah.
It's another one of those not very expensive things that if someone wanted to make their car better, this would come highly recommended.
Do you see yourself going and upgrading the brakes anytime soon with it, or are you going to stick with the brakes? You're pretty happy with the brakes?
Yeah, actually, the brakes work really, really good, and we'll get to that. I actually bought a 13-inch brake setup for a Corvette, and there's companies that make the adapters that will go directly onto the spindle, so you can run these Corvette brakes. And I did it, and I put it on the car, and the more I tried to find a set of tires and wheels that was going to work on this vehicle and not take away from the way it looks, it was going to be very, very expensive to buy what I would consider a really cool set of wheels to go on this car. I made it all the way up to the door, but I didn't knock on the door. So I basically just pulled the Corvette brakes off of it and put the factory brakes back on it. And so I could run the 14-inch wheels that I have on the front and the 15-inch wheels that I have on the back. I just did not want to drop, it's go big or go home. I didn't want to drop, $2,000 on a set of wheels and tires.
That's a big leap for some rims and tires. That's for sure. I mean, especially when you put that money elsewhere. So you mentioned 14 inches up front for the rim and then 15 in the back, which leads me to tire size, because It looks like you're running staggered setup on that car. And that's what I really like about, you have the kind of smaller wheel and rim up front, And then in the back, it looks like you're kind of running almost a wide dish with the way it looks, just from the side angle, kind of front, I guess, passenger side, looking back towards the car. You can see that. So show us the car real quick, and let's see what you got going on with the wheels.
Okay. Basically what I'm running on the front is, I think that's a 185/70/14. It's a BF Goodrich TA radial because I'm old school like that. Yeah, 185/70/14. And these wheels are reproduction wheels of the 67 Camaro 302 car. This wheel, that sounds real special, but basically they got two different rally wheels. Most of the people will figure this out, or they already know it. If you had a car that had drum brakes on it, you had wheels that looked like this, but they wouldn't clear the disc brakes. So the way the advertisement was worded was 67 302 Camaro. So that's basically clears disc brakes. So that's what I'm running on the front. And on the back, they're basically 15/8, but these are not factory General Motors wheels because I have a forward rear axle in it, and the forward rear axle lug pattern is 5 on 4.5. And we know the GM lug pattern is 5 on 4 3/4. These wheels have a little bit deeper offset than a Corvette Rally, which is what they're supposed to mimic. I think this has a 4-inch backspace, and I think a Corvette Rally has a 5. It is a tight fit. It is a very tight fit. I mean, it's tight. And if you get the car in the right situation, then you might get a little bit of tire rub in the back, but it's quite doable. The car rides very good. It is low, like I said, it'll wear a set of headers out. So this was a really, really cool car. When I was telling you that I think it was worth saving, was one of the things I failed to mention is this car did not have factory tinted glass in it either. So, it's just really a bottom of the barrel car. I don't know if the salesman ordered this car or if somebody walked in and said, this is what I want, but it appealed to me because it was like something from the 60s, when you walked in there and you said, I want the big motor, the 4-speed. I don't care if the windows go up and down. I just want to go fast, Yeah.
No options. I just want the speed. Yep.
That's right. Yeah. I can give you a quick walk around of the car and we can just look at it, and then I can put it on the lift and raise it up if we want to look under it. Obviously the front bumper's fiberglass. It was much easier to work with the compound curves to try to get the bumper tucked up.
Yep.
That is an aftermarket hood, obviously. I think it was made by a company called Key Auto Parts. It actually fit very well, rather than a good mark. And obviously the rear bumper on this car is the factory rear bumper, and it doesn't have a whole lot of compound curves in it. So it was a little bit easier to cut it and weld it back together. Obviously we left the bumper bolts and stuff out of it. So it kind of looks a little bit smoother.
A lot of people are talking, like a few guys that I've seen throughout the group mention that also is shaving off the bumper bolts on the bumpers. And you don't see that too often, but man, they really did a good job, or whoever did it, matching those bumpers up, fiberglass, steel, whatever. But it looks really nice, the way it all comes together and everything. And I'll be honest with you, prior to, I'd give myself probably a few weeks, maybe a month or so. I did not know there was a black stripe on your hood at all. I had always seen the side shots of your car, and then I saw that front shot, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you got the hoods, the cow part right there is painted up, and I like that. It looks pretty nice. It's a nice little touch.
Thank you. Yeah, the painter, he's a funny dude. I like to challenge him whenever I can. Whenever I tell him I want to do something like that, he always wants to kill it off behind the chrome, make his life easy. And I always try to make his life as miserable as possible. So I always tell him, no, you can't do it that way. He did. I love the way the
green wraps around. That's nice.
Yeah, he did a 2-tone Suburban for me, and I put him through the ringer on that Suburban because that's a lot of sheet metal.
Yeah, that is a lot of canvas to paint. You got that right.
Yes, it is. One of the other things we did to this car was we removed the parking lights. The parking lights were kind of bulky.
Yeah, someone mentioned that on the post that you put up a few days ago when it was being painted. It's amazing to me that paint is as old as it is. It's 8 years old. That's insane because it looks so good.
He's a great guy. Here's where I have to plug him. The name of his business is called Midnight Restorations. The guy's name is Jared Bradley. He's probably about 30 or 40 miles from where I'm at. And okay, I really like using this guy. because he doesn't have any help. He's just like me or you. It's just like you bring him your car, and he's the only guy that's ever going to touch it. And if something doesn't work out right, it's his fault. You know what I mean? There's no complaining with this guy, and he does dynamite work.
So now are the rims, do they match the bumpers, or are they a different type color?
Very, very good, sir. Yes, sir. Obviously rechroming the bumpers was out of the question because it's super expensive. And, now if I were to redo it, I mean, you can go to the vinyl wrap guy. He can put vinyl chrome on and it'll look like chrome, but 12 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, that wasn't the case. So when we did the bumpers, he did the wheels also. So we said, let's just make the wheels and the bumpers the same color as silver. And it worked.
It looks great. Yeah. I mean, it looks outstanding. I could tell you had something going on with the wheel sizes, obviously the rim.
Sure.
And then of course the color matching on the bumper and the tires. But that paint is outstanding for 8 years, man. I mean, it looks so. Now, do you treat it with wax, or do you do anything special? Do you block it or anything like that, or you just kind of keep it alone?
Believe it or not, William, I'm going to make myself look bad. I have a gentleman that I trust very, very well, and he takes care of this car for me whenever it's time. If I have to drive it every week, in cruising season, I'll just wash it and I'll touch it up. But when it sits, during the cold season and it's time to get it back out again, it gets loaded on a trailer and it goes right over to him, and he just knocks it out of the park. And
he does.
It's just killer. The guy's a super professional on what he does, and he's fair.
And if you take care of a paint job, it's going to take care of you in the long run. It's going to last 20, 30 years if you keep it out of the sun and you take care of the paint. So that's nothing bad on you, man, for running the maintenance and having somebody else do it. Because if they know what they're doing, that thing will be mirror finish like it is for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I can say is,
gosh, that's cool.
This car was never supposed to look this good. It was just supposed to get painted, and I was supposed to just go beat the crap out of it. And then when I was done with it, I just haul it off or sell parts off of it. But when the ball got rolling on it, the car responded so well. Then, how do you not, try to make it look as nice as possible, and keep it looking good. I mean, all the bright work was hand polished. I mean, it's like I got lucky and I met some really, really cool people that are really, really good at what they do as far as making stuff look pretty. And I'm thankful.
Do you know the history of the car? Do you know, like, I know my car came from Michigan. That's where it was built at, the plant in Michigan. And then it got shipped over here shortly after. So it's been in California most of its life. But do you guys have in your place a lot of snow to where they drop a lot of salt? Or is it a pretty stable car? Did you find a lot of rust up under that thing, or what?
Oh, well, we do get our snow, and we're on the East Coast. So obviously you guys know from North Carolina. So whenever you say the word snow, this is where David's going to laugh. He's going to have a good time with this.
Yeah, David's.
Everybody goes into complete and total panic mode, and they oversalt.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's not too bad. Now, this car would have what I would consider acceptable, normal rust in it when we started this process.
Okay.
On these old cars, they didn't use, obviously you guys have had your cars apart. You already know. They didn't use urethane to glue the glass in. They used what's known as a windshield kit, which was basically like something about the size of a Tootsie Roll. And they just laced the run channels for the front windshield and for the back glass, and then they just set the glass on top of it. And what happens is that over time the Tootsie Roll dries out, and when it rains, water leaks in the windshield or it leaks in the back glass. Yep. On this car, it was the rear glass, and obviously it had the atypical rusty trunk pan, and it was only the right rear floorboard. So I bought the right rear floorboard section, cut it out, welded it in. I only needed a piece of the trunk. I didn't need the whole trunk pan. I just needed the spare tire well. I found a donor car. I bought the car, and I did the trunk pan swap. Other than that, other than filling in the marker lights, it really is lower quarter extensions on the rear, which is super common. The inner wheel houses were great. The trunk extensions were great. And rear fender extensions. All those things are readily available because those are really common things on these cars. Otherwise, that car is super. The doors are fantastic. sometimes the moisture gets stuck in the doors, or they'll get pine needles in them, and then the water won't drain out and fills the doors full of water and the doors rust. I didn't have that issue.
I mean, with the trunk was a big area, and then obviously behind the back tires and stuff, maybe sometimes on the windshield. But in our cars, I found that talking to different people and their experience and whatnot, and with my car as well, you can see where the water kind of comes in, where that one spot is at the bottom, and it also collects down, like you said, in the spare tire area from it draining down like that. Because if you're in, back in the day when this car was literally a daily car for hundreds of thousands of people, like they get caught in the rain, so they're going to drive home. It's not like they have, a sealed up 2000 whatever model vehicle that's actually kind of built really nice back in the day. So, I mean, there was no, okay, I'm going to keep my car in because it's raining or snowing this weekend. It's like, I got to go get groceries. So, and that's exactly what these cars were back in the day, were daily drivers, and a lot of numbers were sold of the Novas, especially 75 and prior, or 74 and prior. They started.
Sure, yeah, these things were servants, without a doubt, Will.
Yeah. So let's check out that motor you got going there. Let's see some close-up shots of that thing, man.
All right, I may have to get a flashlight. It might be a little dark, but
wow. That's nice and clean.
Well, yes, it is. So you got a serpentine setup on it?
Yes, that is like a serpentine belt setup off of a early '90s Chevrolet truck. I love that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a lot better than 2 or 3 belts flying around trying to,
That's right.
You can carry one with you and you'll be good.
Here's something that gets a lot of chatter. How about my battery? You love my battery?
That's a little guy right there, isn't it?
It works, man. That thing is cool. One of the other things that I wanted to share was, obviously, I'm running the serpentine belt setup. So the power steering line, the high pressure power steering line on this car that you see, I'm gonna try to get some of the flashlight out of the way. That line fits very, 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 very well. So one thing that I would advise is that power steering line is not for a Nova. That is for a Ventura with a 350 Pontiac engine. Because once I made the swap to the serpentine belt setup, then the Nova power steering line did not want to behave with the later model, accessory drive.
That's a common thing I see up here in Winnipeg with a few of my Nova buddies. Is we've used power steering hoses from the Oldsmobile Omega and the Pontiac Venturas because they're for the BOP blocks, which are a little wider. So yeah, they're a different length, they're a different bend, and they work a lot better than the Nova ones.
Really?
Right.
I might have to because I'm still running the stock, like right off the pump, boop, and then right down below, and the steering box, the pump kind of falls behind the header a little bit, or the head, excuse me. So it's like the surface heat is just hitting that pump. You know what I mean? So that's kind of, now, did you keep I couldn't see the pump, but did you also do the pump as well, or did you keep the stock pump in there?
You mean as far as the power steering pump?
Yeah, for the power steering.
Yeah, no, you have to use a truck power steering pump because they move the bolt pattern around a little bit, and the bolts are also metric. So, but all that's easy enough. If a person wanted to do this, then all they'd have to do is find a donor vehicle and just take every nut, bolt, clip, pulley, all that stuff, and it just goes right on.
Is that from an LS motor, or what? Like where?
No, it's from like a 1992 Chevrolet truck with a throttle body 350 in it. It's not very expensive. No.
Yeah.
A lot of cleaning though.
Yeah, it is. It looks great. It looks like it looks great. It does. It all matches. It looks good. It's all black. So it's really nice.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. One of the issues that somebody would run into if they wanted to do this would be the thermostat housing and the radiator hose. They're not going to play pretty at all. And through trial and error, I can save them a bunch of heartache and say that the thermostat housing is from a 67 Chevrolet truck with a 327. They had 2 different thermostat housings, and you and Dave probably have the same thermostat housing. Thermostat housing generally points to the left.
Yep.
This one is it's a 1 year only kind of deal, but they make you can buy them at the auto parts store. It's a 67 Chevrolet truck with a 327, and that's the matching radiator hose, and it fits this radiator perfectly.
Yeah, you can see those bends.
Yeah, and it also clears the alternator and the serpentine belt. So if you wanted to do this, then that would be the ideal way to go.
Yeah, I got
worked out for
my
me.
alternator on the other side of the engine, so I can run my actually I have a 2-piece water neck on mine because I put the air gap from is an Edelbrock on there. Yeah, that new intake and everything kind of rises everything up. So I actually had to get a different hose on mine as well whenever we did that intake modification and stuff like that. But yeah, what's really cool to me also, I want to say this real quick before we get into the interior, is that it was mentioned also on that post about someone noticed that you didn't have your side markers. And I had the door shaved on mine. Well, it was on there, got the car like that. So those subtle little changes really brings out the full smooth line of how the Nova actually is. Like it, when you step back and look, your eyes aren't interrupted by like, okay, is he running chrome, side markers? Are they blacked out? Are they same color? Oh my goodness, it's not there. It's super clean. So that was really cool how you did that. You deleted those side markers. That's pretty nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I just wanted to touch back on the motor there when you were showing the radiator hose and all that. I can really appreciate the time you took to get the proper hose and housing like that, because nothing looks worse than a beautiful car like yours and then somebody takes a $5 tractor hose to finish it off.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, that's true. Tractor hose.
He's right though. He's right though. I mean, we call those swings and misses. Swing and a miss. We're almost there.
That's a big miss.
So anyway,
did we keep the bench seat, or what did you go with on the inside?
Bench seat, man. We kept the bench seat. We kept the stinking 4-speed.
Yes.
Now, I'm sorry that there's poor lighting in here when the sun goes down, but that's okay. We're gonna make it.
Oh, we could see it. I could see it pretty good.
Oh yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, it looks like my seat.
Oh, your seat looks like good, Dave.
Yeah, I had mine all redone last year. Black vinyl, just like that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got our now these the seat covers that were on this car were a little bit more poverty level than what we have now, because they don't repop that, and I didn't want to pay for the material to make it look like it did. So these are reproduction seat covers for what I would consider deluxe interior. That's my 68 Camaro deluxe steering wheel that fits this car very, very well.
Not only does it fit it well, but that horn pad is nice, and like the arms of the wheel are nice and slim enough that you can see that tack perfectly.
Yeah, it actually matches the gray that's outside on your car to the silver that's on the outside of your car.
Thank you. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you got the black wheel with the silver, and you got the black on the hood. Then you got the wheels and tires matching. That looks pretty similar to that color. That's nice.
I actually thought his engine looked a lot.
This car.
The engine looked a lot the same color too.
It did. You're right. It did.
Yeah. Yeah. This car, again, it was so that things that someone who's owned one of these things and understands the ins and outs. This car does not have a glove box light. It does not have an ashtray light. It does not have footwell lights.
Yep.
Some of the other cars, like perhaps David's car or his Omega, would probably have footwell lighting. This car does not have that.
Actually, both my cars just have the glove box light. I don't have the foot lighting either.
Oh, really?
Well, I just have glove box.
I've got foot lighting and no glove box, no ashtray lighting. Wait. Yeah, no, it's just two of them on the bottom of the dash are mounted right there. And it looks to be the original receptacles. So I'm like, either they moved them or that's how it came. I don't know it, but they look pretty nicely put in. But go ahead, James.
No, it's okay. I was going to say I need to pursue that. There's a salvage yard that's 30 minutes away from here that a guy has got. He's got about 10 of these cars. They're mostly rusty as expected, and some of the good pieces have been picked off of them. But I might go out there before the weather turns completely cold and see if I can get the sub harness and the footwell lighting receptacles and add it to my car. Because I don't want to buy a kit. I want it to look like it's supposed to look. Nothing looks better than it did when it was factory.
Well, I agree. I agree 100%, man. I mean, and You've really done this. I love the poverty caps. I love the rallies. I'm a huge rally fan. That one, because I got the actual, it's the Chevelle 15x7 rallies that I have on my Nova matching. So I really love that rally look, because I think that's timeless with these cars, especially. I mean, they look good on Chevelles, they look good on Camaros, but I really love the look of a rally on a Nova. They just looks great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like Dave's car whenever he decides to put the poverty caps back on it, because I'm a big fan of that deal right there. You know?
Yeah.
Well, the reason why the mags are on is because the tires on the steel rims are pretty bald, and I haven't had the money to put new rubber on them. So that's why I'm running the mags right now. But the hubcaps that I normally run on my car are actually off of a 1970 Nova SS, which was my dad's original Nova, which he sold.
Nice.
He bought this one. It originally came with the moon caps.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to ask you guys a question. Maybe you know someone, or maybe you don't. I am looking for the instrument cluster carrier, or the dash bezel, or whatever you want to call it, for a radio delete car. It's got to be AC delete and radio delete.
Yep, that's going to be tough. I know one of my buddies with a 72 Nova. He's been looking for a few years for one for his. And actually, the bezels are different from 70 to 72 than 73, 74. The texture on the black area is different.
That's
Not
correct.
many people know that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think our cars have the cheap Italian wallet texture, don't they?
Yeah, I think you're right there. They certainly went down the cost in some areas, but what gets me is some of these parts can actually interchange, but then we have differences such as that, like, oh, this is different, or that, or the, something as simple as a color or a texture or something like that will be different. So what's going on with your mirrors there? Talk to me about them.
Oh, well, now I was just going to show, it's an earlier model mirror. It's like a mirror for, I don't know, 68, 67, something like that, where they had the round mirrors that you can't see anything out of with the Chevrolet emblem.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about there.
That's when they look good, but they were non-functional. And like, obviously the right side, this car was not equipped with a right side mirror either, because you had to pay for that.
That was the first thing I put on my Nova when I started driving it, was a mirror on the passenger side. I felt so lost without it.
Yeah. I also have double mirrors, the driver and the passenger, on mine as well.
Yeah, man. That is, I suppose if I were to, I don't know, I kind of like the chrome deal. I'm kind of torn on whether or not I should have put painted mirrors on it, but the more I like it in the poverty level appearance that it has, the more I can appreciate the fact that it doesn't have a mirror on it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And again, going back to that aesthetic idea, it's a lot cleaner along that side.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the reflection right where the mirror would go. That reflection is just like, boom, perfect straight line. I mean, there's no interruption in it. It's really nice.
I'm going to make a little bit of noise and raise this thing up. We're going to see what the bottom of it looks like. And we're going to see a totally KO'd set of headers here. You're going to love this.
Scraping and scraping.
Now, I just noticed as he's racing that car, that car were to be running here, and it wouldn't pass a safety, because you have marker lights for vehicle safety here.
Oh, yeah. All right. To answer your question about the marker lights, Dave, we have a law in the state that says if your car is 35 years, I believe, 30 or 35 years old, it does not need to be inspected anymore. So you just pay for the sticker that goes on the license plate, and you just have at it, man.
Yeah, we're not so lucky here.
Yeah.
Like, they'll pull you over on a Sunday night driving, and that's how they try to curb the cruising here in Winnipeg, by pulling vehicles off that don't have the proper equipment.
Wow.
That's unfortunate. I should become a politician and help you guys, man.
Yeah,
I know Williams got some stringent stuff, and them California guys, they don't play.
And it's not too bad. To be honest, with my, I don't have, I'm pre-smog. I just made the year cut off for the smog, so I don't have to worry about that with my exhaust. But we don't have an inspection on our cars either. They literally do a VIN inspection, and that's it. I mean, it's not like, right blinker, left blinker, horn, all that other stuff. Although all my stuff is good, but we don't have that state inspection but I remember North Carolina, they used to run a state inspection for the newer vehicles and you had a sticker and all that stuff. It was pretty wild.
They finally got rid of the stickers, but whenever we find one of these cars that's a Survivor and it's still got the sticker on the windshield, I'll leave it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For nostalgic purposes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's my completely destroyed set of headers. This is what happens when your car's too low to the ground and you try to drive everywhere.
Yeah, no, it happens.
Have you ever thought of welding like a skid plate on them?
I should at this point. I mean, they're already flattened. They're clearanced.
Yeah.
So anyway, here's what the bottom of a 383 looks like. One of the things that some of the guys in the club may or may not know that starter right there is for like a 97 model Chevrolet truck with a 350 and Vortec engine. The starter is half the size, takes half as much power.
That's pretty cool how for a car that looks so stock on the outside, you have so many different vehicle parts inside the car.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in like a C10, Jeep Cherokee, Silverado, that's just to name a few, but it certainly sounds like you've got a lot of different stuff on that car and it really seems like it works good.
Did you notice the detailing of how his starter wire ran and how it was clipped onto the oil pan? That's very nicely done. That's given me some ideas when I put my motor back in. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you, David.
You don't have to worry about it flopping around and hitting that head or anything.
No, we're going to keep stuff away from fire.
Yes, indeed. That's true.
So this is my super cool new exhaust that I absolutely positively made the comment the other day that I'd got the exhaust done and I absolutely love it. And believe it or not, these are cherry bomb versions of Flowmasters. And I absolutely love those mufflers. They are fantastic.
Where does it dump at?
Oh, here, side exit, baby. Muscle car style.
Yeah, yep. Perfect.
Mine are about 2 or 3 inches before that, but same angle, same everything.
Oh yeah, that's the only way to roll, fellas. If you got an old car, you got to roll it like that.
I know, I got it done. And mine are 40 series Flowmasters, so there's only 2.5 inch. And Dave and I had talked about doing a 3 inch or something like that, even if they were muffler back. I think who mentioned that to me? I think it was Tim that mentioned that to me. It was a few months back, but he mentioned something like that. But how do you so is it a throaty sound? Is it more of a, you got the drone sound exhaust type?
It's all gone, man. I'm telling you what, that's why I just absolutely fell in love with mufflers all over again. It is quiet, believe it or not. I mean, it's chatty if you stand next to it, and it's not quiet until you get on the exhaust. And if you get in it, it sounds like an old muscle car. Do you remember how the mufflers on the original muscle car used to sound? Kind of like, like Dave's original mufflers on his Mustang. It's quiet until you get on it, and then it gets loud.
Oh yeah,
I found the same with my Flowmasters that they are MagnaFlows. They're very quiet, very nice, but when you hammer on it, boy, are they loud.
Yeah. I'm really am tickled to death of those mufflers, and I love them so much that if I were to get another car, then they would immediately go to the muffler shop and have those mufflers put on it. Yeah, they are fantastic. Those, some of us came. We come from the Flowmaster generation, and it's like if you want to have a conversation with somebody, you kind of got to yell over the drone. But now you can actually turn to the person next to you and just have a conversation with them. It's wonderful. Okay, so we are going to look at, obviously I've got the aftermarket tube type control arms on this car. I'm going to flip my camera around if you'll give me just a second. Hope that works. There we go. All right, so yeah, we got the aftermarket, the same stuff you can buy on the big internet store. These work very well. I did a lot of research on these before I bought them. They are duplicates of big name stuff for sure. They're good welds. Yeah,
they look just like what I got from CPP. To be honest with you, they look exactly like same bolted in ball joint, same rounded, tubular curve and everything. Yeah.
Right, and the only thing I did is because I knew that I bought them from the big internet store, is that I immediately bought a good set of ball joints.
Yeah,
and changed the ball joints out, and I've had a great amount of success.
Did you go with Moog on that as well?
Those are AC Delco ball joints.
Okay.
Certainly nothing wrong with the Moog product. I'm not biased in any means, but the AC Delco product was readily available, and that's what I used.
when I ordered my Moog ones, the rubber boot was not on it. It was off of it, but you had to put it on. And a few times having issues. Now, did those come pre-assembled, or did you have to put the rubber boot on and pack the grease as well?
I did have to do that. I did have to disassemble the ball joint, pretty much the way your moves came, even though you say Delco on them, and then get the ball joint pressed in, fight the boot, grease it. You know, it can be
a for sure.
One of the things that I'd bring to light, obviously, that's that 1 1/4 sway bar. I'm trying not to make the light shine on too much. One of the things that I realized once I put the sway bar in and got this new engine in that's running an 8-inch balancer was the sway bar was like brutally close to the crank harmonic dampener. And I had to put an 8-inch spacer in between the sway bar and the frame. And that fixed that issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want that. They also have smaller diameter balancers too. Like I run a 6 3/4 one on mine.
That is true. That is true. This engine just happened to have the 8-inch balancer set up on it, and it had been balanced by the machinist per se. And I didn't want to take the crank pulley off of it based on that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then obviously, obviously there's that Jeep steering box that looks like any other steering box you're ever going to see on the planet that fits right on the car.
And that was a direct bolt-in, eh?
Yeah, man. The same thread pitch, fasteners, everything.
Wow. So you said that was a 92 to 98 Cherokee?
Yeah, 92 to 98 Jeep Grand Cherokee. And it doesn't matter if it's got the 6-cylinder or the V8. And when I say V8, I mean like the conventional pushrod V8.
Yeah, and what was the steering coupler from again?
1983 Chevrolet C10, which would be basically your 1500 Chevrolet truck.
That's right.
Just because I'm looking at getting some new steering parts, so that's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, Dave, I mean, it's the cheapest trick on the planet, man, and you'll never regret it. I would not tell you a lie on making a car better.
Now, I notice you're running traction bars and a rear sway bar. I've heard they would work against each other. How does that work together?
Dave, the traction bars are just aesthetic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're just for looking at. There is some, I haven't. This car doesn't go to the drag strip, and it doesn't go to the road course. I can't. They just are what they are. I mean, obviously, you can tell that the traction bars aren't even the right length for the car. They're supposed to be over that bolt eyelet right there.
Yeah.
You see how short the traction bar is in relation to where it's supposed to be.
I was running a pair of Lakewoods that are the same length as that, and you can actually see over the years how it's actually bent the spring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, they're just for looking at, because it's kind of like going with that period correct throwback stuff, just kind of making the car look like it's would have been back in the day.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption, guys. I got a call. I got to take off, and I'm happy to be here for a change, and I had a chance. And thanks for sharing your awesome Nova, James.
Thank you, sir.
Very nice. Yes, and good to see you, William and David. And I hope to join you guys soon.
You bet. Take care, Larry.
Good seeing you too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. I don't do it, like I say, Dave, I don't do a whole lot of drag racing on this car. So the traction bars are just merely aesthetic. One thing I can say, that I would like to add is, obviously, I've got an 8.8 Ford rear end. I have a Fox chassis Mustang in this thing, and obviously there was cutting and I had to cut the old mounts off of it and transfer the mounts off the rear end that was in the car. But I'm running 96 Cobra brakes on the back of this thing, and they fit inside these Corvette Rally knockoffs wonderfully, and they work good.
Well, I believe on the Mustang, that's a 15-inch rim anyway. So yeah, 96.
Yes.
Yes.
Now see, yeah. See, yeah. But I mean, if there's some guys in the group that ever wanted to do this, it's one of those things that just keeps paying you back, man. You buy that 8.8, everything for it's like super cheap. There's like any gear ratio on the planet. We know how strong the 8.8 is. I mean, we all know somebody who's got 1,000 horsepower and he's using an 8.8. I mean, obviously it's been gusted and welded, but that's a brutal rear end, man. It's a metric version of the 12-bolt Chevrolet. It really is. A lot of people don't know that the bearings that go in this rear end are basically 10-bolt Chevrolet bearings. That is a really good rear end.
That's good. I mean, especially when you're fluctuating, you want to change the engine out, put a big block in or something. You know, you got that rear end that can back it up still. You know, if you're running street tires, you can break them loose a lot easier than slicks or whatnot when they get warmed up.
Absolutely. You know, my theory on this thing, William, when I said I was going to put the 8.8 in it, was just this. You know, everything's about $1 anymore these days, unfortunately. But here's the deal. They put those, I think they came out with the 8.8 Ford in 1980. And you can go anywhere on the planet and find any gear ratio for an 8.8 Ford, but you're not going to go anywhere except for the auto parts store and find a gear for your big 10, your 8.5-inch 10-bolt. You're going to pay for a brand new one. You're going to pay, and that's the way it's going to be. But like this car here, you know, I can go get a set of gears. I can go anywhere on the planet and get a set of gears for this car. It's just, I can change the gear ratio to 373 tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't have to buy a new set of gears.
And you're right. I mean, not only that, but just the process of doing them too. It don't take that long to, you know, pull the back off, drain it, clean it up, get new tire or get new gear pack in there, and then, you know, slap it all together back again and get a fluid in it, and you're good to go.
That's it, man. If you're fluent with these things, some people are. I'm just smart enough to be dangerous when it comes to this stuff. You can really make your life easy by just putting a little bit of effort in up front, and the rest of it's gravy.
Yeah, I always tell people that too. I know just enough to get myself in trouble, maybe, you know.
That's right.
Same here.
Know just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, just enough to cause a little trouble with something, maybe. But I mean, it looks great. So how does it run, man? You might somehow get a video or something like that of your car running for us, even if with your phone or something like that.
Right now, if you want to.
Great.
It's got that Aeromotive fuel pump is not the quietest fuel pump I've ever heard in my life, but we'll crank it up and see if it makes any noise. How's that?
Their motives are pretty loud, but they work great. I mean, they're a great fuel pump. It's going to last a long time.
Yeah, I love it. It's really that's another thing where it's like if you just go ahead and spend the money up front and don't worry about it anymore, you know.
In some cases, you need to do that. You need to spend that money, you know, where it counts, because it'll last a long time. It'll pay for itself in the long run.
Amen. That's, you know, David Meyer, you know, I think I saw him post something, you know, on his last engine he had in his Nova where he said that thing was together like 6 or 8 years and he's been running at the drag strip every season. Yeah. Pay for it up front. It's worth it.
Yeah. Spend now on quality parts. They'll be cheaper in the long run.
Amen. Never been any better words. I know some people are on a budget, but if you race with your wallet stuck between the gas pedal and the floorboard, you're going to be disappointed.
And just to clarify that, I only race the Nova technically on the long weekends and every now and then. I usually race the 74 Olds Omega, and same thing with that car. That's the car. Same thing. Spent the money on quality parts and beat the snot out of it.
Yep. That's it. Pay up first and have fun later.
Well, let's hear the star of the show. I like that tack right there. That's nice.
Yeah.
Flopped perfectly.
This car, this is the first time this car has been started today, and I want to plug another company that I deal with exclusively, and that is Pro Systems Carburetors. That dude is the bomb. If you're just going to have to stick with a carburetor, call Patrick James at Pro Systems Carburetors. Because it's the bee's knees.
So what size carb are you running?
Unfortunately, the Zoom meeting, I think, is filtering out a lot of the noise.
I think it does that a lot.
Yeah, it adjusts the noise level. So,
Man, that thing is so clean. That's another thing. I can't tell you enough, gentlemen, to call Mr. Patrick James at Pro Systems Carburetors, because when I tell you that's the first time that car's been started today, I started this car stone cold. It ain't been started in 3 days, and it sat here and idled for you all by itself. No choke on it. This carburetor does not have a choke.
Hey, James, you'll have to make another video of that car running because the Zoom meeting will filter out a lot of the loud noise. So we're not going to get a good sound of that.
Okay, so you want me to do it like, at a later date?
Yeah, and just post it on the website for everybody or the Facebook group.
Yeah, and a lot of it is there is a little bit of echo in this garage, so it kind of messes with the audio. That's why, David, you asked me to post a sound. I was like, man, it ain't gonna sound good.
You'd be surprised with the way the mics are on some of these phones nowadays.
Yeah.
They actually pick up the sound of the exhaust pretty good. I post mine on Instagram quite often, and just when I pull it out, it's running. I'll do like a little roll around real quick of it. But yeah, definitely do a video for us and post it up on the site, man. I was going to ask you, what size carburetor are you running on that motor?
You know what? Here's the way that the carburetor, because I just called him and told him what I was going to do. And this carburetor's been on more than one of my engines. I just keep sending it back to him, and he just keeps recalibrating it for the new engine. It is based off of a 780. That's what the main body's based off of, and everything else he does. It's just, it looks like a regular Holley carburetor, but I'm looking at a static draw test on this thing, and it says it was up to 902 at one point.
Oh, wow. That thing's giving us fuel.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is this is the second time that he has stuck his thumb in my eyeball, because the irony of it is like he's never seen my engine, and I'm just like brutally honest. I'm like shamefully honest to give him more information that he needs. And when I get that carburetor out of that box, all I have to do is set the floats on it. And I have actually challenged him to get the fuel mixture right with the idle circuits, and he did it this time. If I change if I turn the screws, it runs worse. It's perfect right now. And the only thing I set was the floats. He's a good dude. And if he says it's $800 for a carburetor, then you just give the man $800, and it's going to make more power, and you're going to get more drivability than anything you've ever seen in your life, without a doubt. Yeah, it's really hard to beat a really good carburetor. No offense. Like I say, I already admitted I'm going to put sniper on this thing, but it's really hard to beat a good carburetor. It really is.
Yeah, that's true.
Now this same carburetor that's on this car, it was on that D-stroke 400 that I had. It was a 352 cubic inch small block Chevrolet 400 based engine. And that was like a 8,000 RPM engine. And this exact same carburetor. It was fun to drive, but it was hard on parts.
You don't get too many 8,000 RPM Novas.
It was, and that's true. It had a Schneider solid roller cam in it with a whole lot of carburetor and a whole lot of intake, and it was a ball, but it was expensive.
I bet that was fun, man. Woo.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I guess since I'm getting older, quite honestly, putting this engine and this transmission and changing that axle ratio in that car, it brought this car in to make it more serviceable. It's user friendly. I mean, my supervisor / my wife, we just get in this car and now we can just go somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Get in it and go. It's got enough radiator in it that the cooling fan's really good, and it could just take us wherever we want to go. We just, if there's a cruise 50 or 60 miles from here, we just drive. It's just wonderful. I've got the anger out of me that I had when I was a younger man, when I built that first engine.
Yeah.
I just want to ride around now,
Oh, no, I understand what you mean. Definitely understand what you say that, but I don't know if I have yet, but I'm probably getting there. You know what I mean? But
no, we're not going to lose any power. What I meant to say was, I have gone to the point to where all I want to do is see how nice I can get this car to ride and drive.
Yeah.
With good feel, excellent handling characteristics, and a good brake pedal. And I hate squeaks, rattles, and wind noises. That's it.
Well, just from the view of it, and obviously what you showed us today, we could definitely tell you've done a great job so far with it. And, going forward, I can only imagine what else you could do, or what you're going to do with it. A sniper setup is going to be great on that car, man.
Sure.
Your fuel efficiency is going to go up. You're going to have better throttle response. And David can attest to a few more things that some of them are self-tuning. You know what I mean? They're great. So you
Sure.
can just bolt it in and they just fire that sucker off every time. You're good to go.
Yeah, I was going to ask David about that. By the way, thank you for bringing that up, William. I was going to ask David. Like, he posted up the person that he deals with when he buys his sniper stuff. Was it like EFI? What was the name of the company that you deal with, Dave, when you get your stuff?
EFI System Pro. In fact, I have
EFI System Pro, and I had read something on their website because I'd followed your lead. Yeah, that's it.
EFI System Pro. Chris Meyer, and yeah, I don't know how well you do that. Yeah,
it's perfect. No, I had read. Now they do startup tunes and stuff too. Are you? From what I thought I read on their website, where they were like, if you tell them what you're doing and what you want to do, they'll kind of pre-program some stuff and get you a startup tune. Is that right?
That's possible. I've never gone that far with them. I've just bought in parts and backup parts and stuff from them, and just read a lot of their articles. I've never had their services for tuning that for my vehicle. The self-tuning of the sniper, I haven't really had to do anything into it. I mean, I've tried playing with custom timing tables and custom fuel tables, but for the most part, the self-tuning has been bang on. I haven't really had to do much. But I also bought the dual sync distributor to go with it, so it controls timing too. But the base timing was more than adequate. Like, I mean, the base tune, the self tune was more than adequate.
Okay, good. Excellent. That's great news. I see these other EFI manufacturer products constantly coming up on Marketplace or what have you in lightly used condition where someone wasn't exactly happy or couldn't get it straightened out enough for their personal preferences.
Now, when I've been
you don't see that in the Holly.
When I've been on their website, like I'm on their Facebook group, and usually the people that are having problems are the people who have tried to re-engineer and try to, cut corners and, I'll make it better doing this. When I installed mine, I went right by the book, right by the install video from Holly's YouTube channel. I didn't do any thinking. I did whatever they said, and that was perfect.
Okay.
But again, running the dual sync distributor, I'm running a very simple distributor, a very simple ignition system, as opposed to those multi-spark boxes and all that. So I didn't want to make it complicated. Keep it simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Keep it simple. Now I'm running the Pertronix 3 igniter distributor in this car, which they just make a good product. Do you know, David, if that is compatible with the Holly Sniper EFI, or am I going to have to change the distributor?
I do not, but I could always send you the manual if you want to read through it.
No, it's okay. I could probably just ask your buddy at EFI Pro, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, or email Chris Myers at EFI System Pro. He would know for sure.
Yeah. I really like the Pertronix product. I mean, as long as, like I say, if we're not racing, it's a great product.
Yeah.
A lot of reliability there.
Yeah. How much does it throw a lot of spark out? Because I know the MSD one's like 50,000 volts. So
I can only presume it has an external coil, and we're going to say it makes 50 or 60,000 volts. The thing that's neat about the Pertronix setup is it uses a distributor cap that's the size of a points type distributor. So you get a little bit more firewall room on this car. And the rev limiter is actually in the distributor. So you can actually pull the distributor cap off and you can just turn a screw and your rev limiter is set. You don't have to run a CDI box. You don't have to, run a whole bunch of wiring. It's a 3-wire distributor, powered,
Yeah, I had to get another box to control my rev limiter, and stuff like that too. So, set it where I want to set it at, because it would just, it'd go over the top,
And the Sniper too, you can set a rev limiter in the Sniper as well.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I think that has the ability to control a cooling fan also, right? Because they use it off the ECT. Yeah.
Yes, you can, and a two-fan system. It can control two. In fact, I just leave mine on the ignition. I didn't use the fan control, but I did use the second circuit. So when my car gets up to about 205, and for me, I don't like anything over 200, but when mine gets up to 205, I have it actually turn my idiot light on the dash, just to bring it to my attention that, hey, we're getting a little warm.
Yeah, that's smart. Right. You use that a lot at the track, multiple runs. You want to make sure the car gets cooled down good.
Actually, usually when I'm racing it at the track, it's running between about 185, 195, and I mean with that electric fan on all the time, it cools well. I don't really have any heating issues at the track, and I'm not hot lapping it like crazy either, eh? So
yeah,
but the aluminum rad I got in there has got 2 1-inch cores, and the Edelbrock aluminum high volume water pump. It keeps that car same setup in the Omega. Keeps both cars cool, but the Omega's a mechanical fan.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's hard to beat too, Dave. If you get a good fan, if you want to keep it simple, like you said, keep it simple. A straight fan is about as good as you can get, unless you need to go to the next level.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, I'm a huge fan of that.
And the reason I went with the electric fan in the Nova was because when I was driving it in rush hour and that, and when it gets to 30, 40, which is 90, 100 Fahrenheit. In rush hour traffic and standstill traffic, that's when I found my car was really starting to heat up to about 205, 210.
Mm-hmm.
So with the electric fan, even when it was 100 this past summer, never went over 195, close to 200, but never really was over 195.
Yeah, I that's why I got the electric fan and shroud on mine, is because traffic here. I mean, you can be sitting in traffic for an hour and barely move a foot or two. And then it gets, 120, 130 now, we saw this year. So it's like pretty hot. So it definitely, it's good to have that a lot of CFM going and pulling that air rather than, the fan just going at the RPM of the motor.
I'm running 180 thermostats in both my cars too.
Same here.
Yeah. Same here.
Same.
Yeah. I like, as David was saying, is like you were saying, William, an engine doesn't start to become thermally efficient until it gets to about 200 degrees. So if you can keep it, 200 or 195, 190 degrees, the engine's, it's like proven, man. That's just the way it works.
That's a great step to go with, man. You're not going to go wrong. And like David said, just if you're to do it, and I know you have the knowledge, obviously, of doing a lot of stuff, but just install it like they say, and then it's just going to be like back of my mind. I don't need to think about it anymore because it's going to be great. It's going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to that point. That's probably something that's going to happen over the winter. And also something, I think someone in the club posted up a link to the new Tremec transmission they came out with, the new 5-speed. I don't know if you guys have seen that or not. That's pretty dandy. That
is a nasty transmission. You could beat that transmission up pretty good, and it'll handle what you throw at it. That's what's so great about those transmissions. Well, we're nearing our time before we get shut off, and then Dave also has to run. But I really want to thank you, James, for letting us see your car today, man. It's been a joy. I absolutely love this car, and I know David's probably gonna not like me so much, but it's probably my favorite green car we have on the group because it's gorgeous to me. It really is. And
Thank
seeing
you.
it, yeah.
Well, truth be known, it's probably one of my favorite green cars in the
Oh, come on, man. Oh, you know what? I want to plug something else that doesn't have anything to do with me. Patrick Newman's black 73 Nova. That would be something that I would hope you guys we need to get some pictures and we need to interview that car.
He's definitely got a nice ride, that's for sure, man.
That black paint job on that car looks slick, man. And I love that car, the black bumpers, the belt moldings on it, and he had the slots on it, and it was just brutal. And I was just like,
yeah,
cool
we're
car.
lucky to have a lot of truly beautiful Novas in our group.
Very much so. There's some nice stuff on this group.
It's hard to say, who's got the nicest and all that because there's just so many of them. And after watching your car and looking underneath and seeing more of it, I've got a whole new appreciation. I mean, I've always loved your car, even without it being green, just the detail of it. But yeah, it's green. That's cool. But yeah, it's got to be one of my favorites too. But definitely, I would love to see Patrick's car on here.
Again, thank you, man. I really appreciate your time. The car, like we've already established, is beautiful. When you get a chance, man, go ahead and throw a video. Just do a walk around of it running. You can record it tonight before you leave and then post it up later if you want. But I would love to hear like a video of it running around because we couldn't quite get any of that earlier with the way Zoom works, I guess. But it is what it is. But Yeah, definitely would love to see that car a lot more on the group, man, for sure.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It was an honor to get to spend quality time with car enthusiasts and swap ideas and talk about some cool stuff. And I hope everybody enjoyed it. And you know, I'll post as much whenever I get a chance. I'll just post some more stuff.
Thank you very much, James.
All right, I'll see you guys. Have a great night.
All right, man. Take care. Have a good night.
All right, bye.